listening to Second Wind with Joyce Buford, where women who are ready to expand their life adventure discover the tools to stop playing small and tap into the courage required to enjoy their second wind. Welcome.
Good morning or afternoon, wherever you are that's listening to Second Wind. I'm delighted that you have chosen to be with us today, and you won't be disappointed. As usual, I have some of the best guests that address and share their stories with us. They're all courageous stories of change and how they did it. Because, you know, we all have those stories. Some of us suffer more than others in creating and addressing the courage that is needed to go through transition. So, you know, Second Wind was really created for you to build support. And that's why I hope you're here and you'll take it out to your friends so that they can hear, because you know what's going on with your friends. So anyway, let's get started with our guest. Today, our guest is Jennifer Kreatsoulas. How to do, Jennifer? Oh, I got a thumbs up. You know, I'm from the South and we only have Smiths. So anyway, Jennifer is a certified yoga therapist specializing in eating disorders and body image. She is the founder of Yoga for Eating Disorders, the former creator and host of Real Body Talk, author of The Courageous Path to Healing and Body Mindful Yoga, which is her new book that we will be talking about. She is an educator and a mental health advocate. She's also a speaker who is dedicated to educating about eating disorders and guiding those affected to identify the strengths in their stories. Welcome, Jennifer.
Thank you so much, Joyce.
Oh,
what a joy to be with you.
Well, you know, this is a topic we haven't talked about on Second Wind, and I think it's just so needed because sometimes those people that are suffering are just hidden. They're just hidden in their life. So I really would like, when did you decide, or did it become so painful that you realized you had to make a change in your life?
Yeah, thank you for asking. So there's kind of two pivotal moments that I talk about in my new book, The Courageous Path to Healing, that answer that question. The first was in college, as an 18 or 19-year-old. And the second was as a young mother. Well, I guess I was in my early 30s and I had a newborn and almost a 2-year-old. And it was those two pivotal times that I came face to face with kind of, rock bottom and needing to make that hard choice to make a change, to, find the courage to do the hard work, to find health in mind, body, and spirit.
So when did you really, your health issue was what?
So I struggled with anorexia nervosa, which is an eating disorder.
Okay.
And eating disorders are mental illnesses, but they are also very much physical illnesses because the behaviors that kind of go with, having an eating disorder compromise one's physical body and spirit, truly. And eating disorders, they are the second most fatal mental illness to opioid addiction. They're very, very serious.
Really?
These are not, diets, that's another whole conversation. I think diet culture is definitely at the crux of a lot of what causes eating disorders. However, they're not, eating disorders are not phases. They're not attempts to get attention. They are serious illnesses that are, as I say, people trying to cope with pain, trying to cope with trauma. trying to cope with very difficult things that have happened to them in their lives. And it comes out in this way, right? It comes out in this way of a very destructive relationship with food and one's body, right? And I always say that, or at least I believe, eating disorders are a lot about when we feel powerless. We're kind of subconsciously trained that we can have power through our bodies, right? If we look a certain way, right? And so we create this sense that we're gaining power over something when we're, in my case, it was restricting food and having an exercise addiction. And that was my way of coping with loss in my life and divorce as a young, when I was a young child, and other things.
Your parents.
Obviously, that way of, yes.
Is that right?
Obviously, an eating disorder is not a sustainable way to cope, but I'd like to just really put it out there, that's where it stems from. It's from a very innocent desire to cope with something painful, but it is not sustainable and requires help.
Well, do you think it's easier to get into that disorder because it can be kept as a secret? Does that?
I think that, no, I don't think there's a conscious, there's a conscious choice that this can be a secret. I think it turns into a secret. I think it's really important to understand that eating disorders affect all people. Like, they don't just affect, I think in our social consciousness, we have the idea that eating disorders affect, teenage girls who end up emaciated and they're, middle to upper class. And yes, that population is part of the eating disorder community, but eating disorders affect people of all ages, of all genders, all colors, all socioeconomic backgrounds. They do not have to look one certain way, right? So eating disorders can affect, be going on for people in all body sizes. This isn't just about thinness. So it's really, I feel very passionate to educate people about that.
Yeah. Well, that is a very important part of your mission, is to get the word out there to people. And I think it's interesting how you've combined this with yoga. And why is that? Why is it that yoga is so powerful for addressing the disorder?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Well, on a personal level, yoga was really key to my healing. So, all through my school years, I was an athlete. And then when the eating disorder took hold and I started to, abuse exercise, I had to, when I entered treatment, that was taken away from me, right? And it was many years until I was able to return to some form of exercise without it being, disordered, without it being harmful to myself. And around this time, this was, after college, was, the early 2000s. This is when yoga was kind of becoming popular in the US. And I thought, oh, well, it's supposed to be good for you. I'll try it. Right. It wasn't anything I had done before. It wasn't connected to the eating disorder in any way. And I did some DVDs in my apartment, and eventually, went to take classes at a studio. And in that time, found a community, was surrounded by individuals and messages that were really focused on self-compassion and listening to your body and being accepting and letting go of expectations, all these messages that sure I had heard over my life, but I never quite took them in the way that I took them in at that time when I was in this healing, very deep healing phase of mending my relationship with my body. And so the movement, the breathing, the combination of that with those philosophies, those concepts really brought me to a place with myself of ease and comfort, and had this desire to really respect my body and take care of it. So that was really instrumental for me. fast forward now as a yoga therapist, which is different than a yoga teacher, by the way. I'm
Yeah, I
doing work that is,
yeah.
I can share about
What's the
that.
difference? Yeah. What's the
Yeah,
difference?
but I'll circle back to that, but to answer your first question about yoga and why.
Yeah.
So the embodiment practices, when they're done in ways and taught in what we call trauma-informed ways, meaning we're very mindful of the language we're using, we're giving individuals lots of options. It's not a competitive environment. This isn't about working out. This is about having an experience with yourself. That those embodiment practices can be very instrumental in helping people who have a very severed relationship with their bodies to kind of gently, in time, return home. Right? It's not always easy or comfortable. Just because yoga is great for us doesn't mean it always feels good, right?
Yeah.
So doing that work with someone like me, a yoga therapist who's trained in not only all the practices and teachings of yoga, but has a very comprehensive understanding of psychology and neurology and anatomy and trauma-informed practices and a variety of disciplines kind of combined in one. I'm there to kind of hold the space for people who are in this process of returning to their bodies.
We, I didn't see, where did you get most of your training now that you brought it up? Was it like in a course, or you probably continued to do courses over the years just to build your skills?
Sure. Yes. Yeah. I was really fortunate to study at the Yoga Life Institute, which was here in Pennsylvania before the pandemic, and now it's a virtual school. It was a 3-year program. It was super intense, but very transformative. And that's where I really learned the power of the yoga philosophies and the concepts. Because yes, our embodiment practices are very key for recovery and life, but the concepts on which, yoga teaches offers a new language and new perspectives and new ways to bring that practice off the mat and into your life and in your recovery.
Yeah. My eating habits always went the other way. I was always a chubby young lady. And what's the difference in the woman that takes the type regurgitation as you did versus one that takes on more food than she needs and gets relief from that food, because it's kind of like a security blanket, you might say.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So anorexia, which is what I have struggled with, is about restriction of food. Okay. There's a variety of eating disorders. So there's bulimia, which is the purging, more associated with purging. There's binge eating disorder, which is more associated with, just what it sounds like, right? And there's a variety of others. And sometimes people are diagnosed with a variety. And you don't need to have a clinical eating disorder to struggle with your relationship with food, right? You don't have to be diagnosed with that. This is something that I think we're all a bit on a spectrum when we live in a very diet culture focused world. But to answer your question, I don't think there's one way to answer that. I think it's very individualized in terms of how the behaviors play out. I think at the end of the day, we're all looking for some type of comfort.
Right. Yes. Yeah. So I went to your website. You have many websites to go to for reference. You have yogaforeatingdisorders.com is your website. And your business is Yoga for Eating Disorders. But I also went to your YouTube because I liked, you've got Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram, all of the right ones to have. I have all those.
Can't live
too.
with them. Can't live without them. Yeah.
No. So I liked the YouTube because it was interesting. You had being alone in college. I didn't go through all of them, but there's so many. You could see the phase of the growth in you as you express some of these pains that you were experiencing. And so I really encourage your listener today, our listener today, to go to your YouTube, because I love seeing video, you know, and so I know. And do you continue to do those videos regularly on the YouTube channel?
Yeah, you know, this is an area that I need to be a little more diligent about, to be completely honest.
I get it.
Yeah, it's a challenge. But you mentioned yoga for eating disorders, and if I could just share briefly, you know, yoga for eating disorders is a virtual school for those affected by eating disorders. So
that you
we
created.
offer, yes, that's my business.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Mhm.
So tell us about that.
Yeah, so we offer one-on-one yoga therapy. So for individuals who are looking for a more personalized, individualized experience. And then we provide a variety of really unique programs that draw on the practices and wisdom of yoga and are connected to different recovery themes. They're all taught through a very trauma-informed and eating disorder-informed lens. So for example, you know, in the next couple of weeks, we have a gentle yoga series starting. We have a writing series starting, which is going to be led by my personal writing teacher. Her name is Jennifer Shelter. She's in the Philadelphia area.
Yeah.
You know, looking at writing as a healing, a therapeutic tool. I lead professional trainings and mentoring. I love working with professionals, whether they're yoga teachers, psychotherapists, dietitians, coaches, anyone who wants to understand the role of yoga and eating disorder recovery. So we have quite a few programs that really aim to kind of fill gaps in the healing experience. And then we have a variety of free offerings too.
Yeah. So they need to go to yoga for eating.
Yes. And it's the number 4, yogaforeatingdisorders.com.
Yes, that's clever. Why'd you do that?
Because the word
somebody
yoga
had 4.
Yes. But that website isn't active, so we're good.
I just came across some books by Julia Cameron. And, you know, she is a big advocate of the morning pages.
Yes.
Where you sit down
artist way.
Journaling. And is that the type of writing you're talking about that you encourage your ladies to do? Or is it actually later in the day sitting down and just writing something?
Yeah, it's a great question. Previously, I think it was last year, I led a journaling and meditation class, and that was very much about journaling. This specific class, this writer, she specializes in memoir. So the writing that's going to be happening in this class is kind of, you know, taking a moment in your story and writing it. And she's going to guide that process. It's not, you know, we always say our programs aren't therapy. We're not therapists, but certainly what we're doing is very therapeutic.
Yeah. So on your website, I think this is where I found it, Jennifer's Recovery Story. Now, did you do that with your teacher? I'm thinking
no, I did my book, The Courageous Path to Healing, with Jennifer Shelter. She guided. She was kind of my teacher through that process.
We all need those teachers.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful.
Well, yeah. Now tell us about why you felt you needed to write that book, which is called The Courageous Path to Healing. Why did you want to put your story in a book?
I felt called to kind of crystallize certain moments that have stayed with me over the years. As a way for both myself to kind of reflect on what they've taught me, you know, looking back, but then as a way to invite the reader to recognize their own courage in moments in their journeys. Right. So each chapter has, you know, a story, a reflection on what it's taught me, and then it invites the reader to engage in a yoga inspired practice and some journaling prompts. And the yoga inspired
good.
practices aren't about, putting on yoga pants and standing on a mat. They're more contemplative and reflective. Because when I look back on my story, even though in the moment I could not recognize my own strength or my courage, being able to look back and see it has been so powerful for me. And so I just wanted to, give readers a window through which to look and see things about themselves, these qualities, these virtues, strength, honesty, courage, perseverance, and recognize that though they have these values within them that they've been practicing throughout. It may have felt awful, it might have felt hopeless, but wow, like there was a moment of strength. There was, a depth of courage that perhaps you didn't recognize in yourself.
Right. We're the hardest on ourselves.
Absolutely.
We think everybody that achieved the golden chair has never made a mistake, never slipped, never fallen into old paths, old patterns. And, it's the resilience of getting back on the horse.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so the theme of commitment is really, very forward in the book, because healing is a commitment. As humans, we want it to be fast and we want cures and we want it to be over. And so I wanted to very much validate that, this is long-term commitment. And there's nothing wrong with you because this is taking a long time, right? This is normal.
Right. Yeah. I just love can I read this paragraph? I just love the way you wrote it.
Oh, sure. I'd be honored.
Now this is out of Jennifer's recovery story, which is in the book, I assume.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
As I share in my book, The Courageous Path to Healing, in my 20 years of navigating the highs and lows of the recovery from anorexia, yoga has been an essential and constant tool that's facilitated a great deal of my healing. I taught yoga for 7 years before getting married, starting a career, and having children. With a beautiful gift of motherhood also came a whirlwind of stress, endless exhaustion. Babies bring exhaustion. And I just put it in. She didn't put that in there. Severe eating disorder, relapse, and depression. As I frantically tried to balance being the perfect mother, wife, and professional, my yoga practice fell away. I knew I needed help when someone once asked me what I enjoyed doing, and I literally could not respond. So real. My brain searched. I have chills. My brain searched for an answer, but there was no words, descriptions, or memories. In that moment, I felt empty, blank, and unsure if I would ever recover. Oh, that is so powerful, Jennifer. Really, I'm not kidding. I had chills. It was well written. So, but your book, I love that it's a tool. I mean, it's not just sit down and read the book and this is what happened to me. It's like, okay, we shared this, so we have an exercise for that and a yoga for that. It's a growth tool, you might say.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So as your business builds and you get more notoriety, how do you want it to continue growing? Are you at the top where you want to be now, or what do you see as your future in helping women? Or men? I'm sure there are men with the same.
Absolutely. Well, it's really fun that you asked that question, because we kind of are on the brink of evolving, actually. I've had the really good fortune of training and mentoring individuals all over the world. And one woman recently came to me and said, I believe in this community and this work so much, I speak several languages, and I would love the opportunity to translate your website and help you amplify your programs internationally.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. So right now, all of our programs are virtual. And so because we do things on Zoom and we record, we make the programs available, whether you can attend live or not. And that's terrific.
Mhm.
But it's been on my heart to think about how do we offer programs in time zones around the world, right? So that people can attend in real time if they wish to.
Mhm.
Right. And so we're in the process. So to answer your question, my vision is to take yoga for eating disorders and make it much more accessible internationally so that these programs are available in more convenient times and more convenient times for participants around the world, and to keep building the community and the awareness around eating disorders. Because I hear from colleagues in different parts of the world where there's just not the awareness. It's just not talked about. There's not access to treatment, or even there's like maybe, one therapist in an entire city that specializes in eating disorders.
Yeah.
So I think continuing to build and grow the community. And I feel that when we are in community and we feel seen and heard and validated, that really can propel healing, right? It gives us reason to keep going when we know we're not alone. So
this may be a premature question, but it's in my head. So how would you do that? Would you do the teaching and be up at 3:00 doing that?
Oh gosh, no. I have no way. I have a wonderful faculty on my underneath of me who leads all the programs. Not all of them, I do some, but most of them. So people who have gone through my trainings graduate, and then those, some join my faculty and bring their passion and expertise to our community and create programs that we then offer. But I would have, so many people around the world have taken my trainings that I can then invite them to say, hey, would you like to teach this? And make it accessible for people in your country.
Well, how big is your faculty? Do you have a number?
We have about 15 people currently.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Out with you.
Yes.
And you're grown to 15. I like that. Well, it just points to the need for something like that for young people or people.
All people.
I don't know why I think young, but anyway, but that might need that support.
Absolutely. Eating disorders affect over 80 million people worldwide. Yeah.
Oh.
So there's and like you said earlier, people are not seen in it. They're hiding in it, right? And so we want to make communities that people feel welcome to, be real, be authentic about what they're going through.
When somebody does find you, what's the response that are they just so excited to do? They tell you it's such a relief to be able to talk out in the open about their stresses and their frustrations and their pains?
Yeah, absolutely. I receive a lot of really lovely feedback, and it's really fills my heart. I have a section on my website, the Yoga for Eating Disorders website, called Members Share Their Stories. And we just started it recently, but it's an opportunity for members in the community to share about the power of community in their recovery. And we get a lot of really nice feedback.
Oh, yes. What are some other things on your website that people need to be aware of that is there for them?
Sure. Every Wednesday from 2 to 2:30 Eastern, I lead a free support group on Zoom. And this is a space where people can come and feel seen and heard, say out loud what they need to say to people who really get it and understand. It's not a therapy group, so I just always ask people to be very mindful and sensitive to what they're sharing. It's more of a space to share what's going well, what's feeling hard, what do you just need some validation around. And there's no commitment necessary. You just sign up and you show up when you're available on a Wednesday. And then the other thing that I'd love to share is I lead a Yoga for Eating Disorders community Facebook group. So for listeners who are on Facebook, this is another way to get involved. And I post on that group free guided meditations, yoga practices. We have a theme each month that connects yoga and recovery. So we're sharing a lot of inspiration and motivation and encouragement.
And let me see, I had a question here. You're generously offering your free meditation series for inner calm to our guests. So can you tell us how they can do that? They can go to your website. I got that part because I saw it when I was there.
Yeah. So if you go to the website, Yoga for Eating Disorders, you can scroll all the way down to the bottom and you'll see the sign up area, and you'll receive in 3 consecutive days a short 5 to 10 minute guided meditation that you can go back to over and over and over and over and over again. So these are just small gifts from me to you, right, as a way to share some of what we do in yoga therapy, share an opportunity for the listener to, take 10 minutes to just give to themselves. When's the last time you've just given to yourself? So.
Yeah. Would this be a site that somebody who doesn't have an eating disorder would like to visit? I mean,
Absolutely.
Do they have to have a disorder?
No. So you're welcome to anybody. Like I said, I don't think you need to have a clinical diagnosed eating disorder to struggle with your, how you feel in your skin or your relationship with food, right? This can come out in self-esteem and confidence and other things like depression and anxiety. So our programs take all of that into account. We also have a blog where you can read. We have people sharing their stories on the blog. We have blogs about different yoga philosophies and body image, like a very rich selection of topics. You can also see a list of all my podcast interviews and articles that I've written. So there might be something there that resonates as well.
Yeah. Will you put me there?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Oh, good. Mother will be so proud. So, well, we're coming to the end of our time together, but it's been so informative, really. I just praise you because of the work you're doing and the lives that you're changing.
Thank you so much.
I'm amazed at the strength that women have, men too, but women, we always kind of start out with a bag on our back, but we pretty soon lose the bag and we've changed and created something really special.
Yeah, thank you so much, Joyce.
Yes. So I'm so proud of you, and
thank you.
Look forward to hearing great things in your future. Now, I always have a question I like to ask my guests. So if I may, what would you say has been the biggest surprise that you have experienced with this growth?
I mean, I think there's been so many gifts that have come out of this. I think the surprise that's coming on my heart right now is just this sense of community that is, expansive and continuing to grow, and just how good that feels to bring people together and hold space for people to be who they are and to seek what they need.
Yeah, great. Well, I thank you very much for being on Second Wind. It's been a pleasure. I look forward to hearing more from you across the wires. And so I thank you. Will you pardon me just a minute as I talk to my listeners directly, and then we'll talk some more. Now, dear listeners out there, that I always ask you to do this, but it's very important for those people that are needing to know about yoga and its success and the eating disorders, because there are people just in your community that you know that are using this, that are struggling with this and need to know there's support out there. So I really ask you to please share this with a friend. Just share Second Wind. And you don't need to bring up that it is what it is unless you think it would scare them away. They need the help. They need the support. And this is direct support from the lady who created a successful yoga eating disorder program. So thank you for being here. That's all I'm going to ask, just that one little thing. So I look forward to your being here next week. And I'd like for you to have the best week you can. Do something for you. It's sort of like a date with yourself. Nobody else. You just go do something you want to do for yourself. Go to an art museum. Go to a movie by yourself. Go get a massage. There's any number of things. If you have a question, you just send me an email and I'll give you a suggestion. All right. Have a great week. It's been wonderful knowing you out there. You're out there listening. Thank you now. Bye-bye.
Joyce Buford returns next week at the same time for another edition of Second Wind. Through the Joyce Buford Empowerment System, women are receiving the support they need through their transitions and are able to reclaim their true purpose with confidence. They receive the tools they need to map out new lives. You can find out more about her coaching services at joycebufordempowers.com.